market recently, buying shares in Fairfax newspapers, publishers of the Sydney Morning Herald, Melbourne's Age and the Australian Financial Review. But has he broken the law? Well, he's here with us now. Mr. Baker, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ray, for having me.
All of the headlines at the moment are about you buying up Fairfax. When you first bought it a few years ago, you said it was to amuse you. Are you serious now?
Well, I was serious then, but Fairfax is a very good property. It's not nearly as good a property as $2.70 as it was at $1 when I first tried to buy in.
$40 million, though, we're told that you've bought in the last few days. Is that serious? Is it worth that much?
Well, the situation is that what we're doing is legal. Completely and absolutely legal and completely and absolutely proper. I see in the paper that Rupert Murdoch thinks he might buy a bit more than 5%. I see Conrad Black saying that he wants to go to 35%. And I'm not going to be stuck there at 15% with everybody moving around me.
So why are three of the biggest newspaper magazine men in the world interested in buying Fairfax?
The 5 best classified advertising papers in the world, 2 of them were in Australia.
The Age?
The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald. They are the best properties in the classified business in the world. If they're about and they're available, Fairfax is something that we're definitely interested in. We'd like to be able to take a controlling interest in it. That's not legal. We can't do that.
Well, we hear these figures tossed around. 15%, 17.4%, 24%, 31% today. How much will it take to control Fairfax?
Well, I'm not allowed to have a director on the board. And I have less shareholding than Conrad Black, and Conrad Black never stops telling everybody that he controls Fairfax.
Is there a configuration, though?
I think 24.8% is quite legal.
All right, Conrad Black, you mentioned, he said that he sees himself as a sitting duck for a serious predator.
And you know something? He should be.
Why?
Well, nowhere in the world, and I mean nowhere in the world, is there not some control over media assets by nationals. He has no right to control John Fairfax. The law is there designed to stop him controlling John Fairfax. This plea that he should be allowed to increase his control is a completely fallacious argument. The law says you may not have more than 15%. They changed it once to allow him to go to 25%. Why is he entitled to have any more? I'm not entitled to go to Canada and buy his newspapers. Why is he entitled to come to Australia and buy newspapers that Australians want to buy?
Does it offend you that there, apart from the West Australian, there is no newspaper in Australia owned by an Australian?
It offends me greatly. Not only is there no newspaper aside from the West Australian, you have the situation now where Channel 10 is owned by Canadians, having got around the law. There's talk of Rupert Murdoch becoming an Australian citizen again.
Something called the Murdoch Clause?
Well, it's referred to as the Murdoch Clause, as I understand, and I have no objection to Rupert becoming an Australian citizen. I think he's done a fantastic job, and if he's prepared to come out here and live here, like anybody else who wants to become an Australian citizen, he's perfectly entitled to become one.
He won't do that. You don't expect him to do that.
That's up to him.
What about those in the Labor caucus, on the left, and other critics who simply say, well, that's okay for Kerry Packer to say that. At the moment, what he wants to own the Nine network and the Fairfax operation, anything else he can get his hands on.
Well, you know, if you put that up against what Rupert Murdoch already owns, it's puny. Don't worry about me. I'm the one who wants to get a little bit bigger here so we can go into Asia.
Well, today's Australian newspaper, talking about Rupert Murdoch, has a cartoon of you in bed with Paul Keating and Rupert Murdoch and Conrad Black, and the caption has Paul Keating saying, "Struth, Kerry, do you have to pinch all the blanket? Do you want all the blanket?"
Well, you know, I wish I was in the bed with them all and getting the blanket. I feel that I've got the sheet. I mean, the blanket's been pulled off me. I mean, if anyone's getting a good deal, it's Rupert Murdoch.
Well,
and Conrad Black has had an excellent deal already. I mean, where's the balance getting to in this place? All of a sudden, it's all right. Cross-media, in my view, has already changed with the introduction of pay. I mean, there we've got Telecom paying all the bills and Rupert using all the money.
But you're not bleating. You're not suggesting Kerry Packer's got a rough deal.
No, I'm not suggesting he's got a rough deal at all. All I'm saying is that somewhere along the line, you either have cross-media rules or you don't.
Are they a joke at the moment?
Well, they are certainly being treated as a joke.
So are you, is that right? Are you trying to test them? You're trying to blow them apart?
I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just moving myself into a position when, if they do go away, I'm in a position of rough equity with Conrad Black to decide the future of what happens to John Fairfax.
Kerry, as a businessman, I mean, would you see Fairfax as a better business deal than Channel 9?
No, I made that decision because I kept Channel 9. I have always had the choice of selling Channel 9 and buying Fairfax. If I was as preoccupied with Fairfax as all the Fairfax journalists would have you believe, I would already own Fairfax. There is no way in the world that I can be stopped from acquiring Fairfax if I sell Channel 9.
Would you, if given the choice...
Well, I've made the choice.
Would you own both if you had a chance to own both?
Of course. I think it would be a terrific company, and I think it would be a company which would be able to expand overseas and would be able to take an Australian flag into other parts of the world. I think we make a great mistake in Australia. We think that everything has to be reduced in size. The whole world is getting bigger. And if you want this company or any other companies in Australia to go overseas and to create things for Australia, they have to get to a critical mass. They have to get to a size which is big enough for them to be able to play in a world market.
But there's a suggestion again, admittedly in the Sydney Morning Herald today, and it's been made repeatedly, that in fact your motivation is not purely commercial, that you've got a vendetta against the Fairfax.
Against who? The Fairfaxes have all gone. Who's my vendetta against?
Tell me.
I don't know. I mean, it's John Fairfax seemed to... The company seems to have an idea that I've got no vendetta. All the people who I disliked have all left.
Now stay with us, please. We're talking to Kerry Packer. We'll come back with more after the break. Okay, let's move on. Next month is the World Championship of Cricket, basically, Australia against the West Indies.
Yep.
Are Australians going to have to pay to watch those matches?
No, I don't think they are. The pay television people got licences for pay television on the basis they were going to bring us something new and different, and there was going to be new programming we'd never seen before, and it was all going to be exciting and wonderful. And we said, all right, if that's the case, you don't mind if we have siphoning laws, and the laws are that you can't take the sporting packages or free television, which people have been getting for nothing, and put them on pay. Now they're trying to get round that law.
Do you fear they will? Do you fear that somewhere down the track...
I don't think the government is going to allow them to.
Why, politically it's too hot?
Well, I mean, I would hope that the Australian public would let any government know that if they started to take the football finals or the cricket or any of these things off free television and put them on pay, that's unacceptable as far as the Australian public are concerned.
Well, again,
they're used to getting it for nothing, and why shouldn't they?
Well, you recently trumped Rupert Murdoch over the Super League. Is that inevitable? Is Super League here inevitable somewhere down the track?
I don't really know what the Super League is. I mean...
A World League on pay television for which you've got to get a dish?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, rugby league is a terrific sport within Australia, but doesn't have a great following around the world. And it's going to be around for a long time on free television. And whether it's in exactly the same form as it is today or not will depend on what the clubs want to do.
But you've got no fear, let's say, with Aussie rules, either, that the Aussie rules followers are going to lose their code to pay television?
The siphoning laws are pretty clear. And they turn round and they say that these things can't be taken off free television and put on pay television to the detriment of the Australian public. And I have no doubt that any government will enforce those rules.
What do you say to those who say that pay television really is not about sports coverage, it's about selling dishes?
Well, I mean, the reason that they want these things is that all the good sports are already covered. And as a driver to sell dishes, they have to try and pinch good sport and pay more for it so that they can sell the dish, because they've got something that people want to watch and they believe that that will force them into buying the dish and buying their service. But the truth of the matter is it's not going to happen like that.
But if it's not going to happen, and you say that they won't get those popular sports, then why have they gone to the business?
Well, in a lot of cases, ignorance. I mean, the truth of the matter is you've got, we've been trying to tell the government for many years, and we've been trying to tell everybody else, that Australia with 17 million people can't have 3 or 4 competing paid organisations. It's ridiculous. It's not going to work. 2 of them are going to go broke.
So why hasn't Kerry Packer jumped into pay television?
Well, we have gone in very gingerly into Optus. But, you know...
Very gingerly?
Well, very gingerly. I don't think there's any profit in it whatsoever for a considerable period of time. And the way it's been structured, I doubt that there's going to be a profit in it for many, many years. I mean, one of the things you've got to worry about is you've got Rupert sitting there with Telecom. Imagine what it's like. Rupert, who's a ferocious competitor at the best of times, but imagine him spending the taxpayers' money instead of his own. What a competitor he'll be. Sitting there spending Telecom's money buying his programming. What a deal.
Do you feel Rupert breathing over your neck?
No. I mean, I've lived my life with Rupert around for 30 years. He went one direction and I went another.
You don't get beaten much, Kerry. Why didn't you get the Olympic Games?
We didn't put a bid in for it.
You didn't want Atlanta?
No, I didn't want Atlanta.
You didn't want Sydney in 2000?
Well, Sydney was interesting, but Atlanta I certainly didn't want.
Why not?
Because I think it's overpriced, and I think that whereas it does something for 2 weeks of the year, it deflects a lot of management and crew capacity and time away towards something which is a 2-week benefit. I would prefer to be involved in sports which have more value to us over a longer period of time. That's been our policy for a long time. We've only done a couple of Olympic Games in the last 10.
But the two of them combined $75 to $100 million. Obviously Channel 7 think that that was a good deal.
Well, Channel 7 thought the last Olympic Games was a good deal and they lost $20 million on it.
You know, rumour has it, of course, that you win and lose that kind of money at the weekend of the races.
Oh, well, rumour's wrong again.
A passionate sports fan and sportsman as you are, the suggestion, and I think it's probably right, that along with the Republic, that the Sydney 2000 Olympics will be the biggest event since Federation, and you're going to be a spectator.
Well, I don't know whether we're going to be a spectator or not. I mean, I don't see that any one television network in this country has the capacity to cover the Olympic Games.
Would you like to be a host broadcaster then?
I certainly would not. Can you imagine how much equipment you've got to go out and buy and get to be the host broadcaster?
But Channel 7's not going to give it to you. If they've got it now, they're not going to say, here, Kerry, we'll share it with us.
I don't know what Channel 7 are going to do. I may well not take it from them, even if they ask me to come along.
So no regrets?
None at all.
All right, I mentioned the year 2000. Are you in favour of the Republic?
Yes, I am.
By 2000?
No, I don't think it matters by when, but I think the Republic is something which is an idea that's going to come.
What about an Aussie flag?
Well, I think the people who should decide that are the ones who fought under the old one. They've got the right to decide what the flag's going to be, not people who never went to war.
So basically leave it alone for the moment and let another generation work it out?
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of great importance to us whether we change the flag or not. If people feel very strongly about it, I don't think it's certainly not worth dividing the nation over a subject such as that.
Well, why should we be a republic?
Because I think at this point in time we have to be seen to be independent. Even though we are independent, I think we have to be seen to be independent. I think Paul Keating is quite right. I think our future and our whole future lies in Asia. And I think it's hard to be part of the British Commonwealth and have your whole life in Asia, which is where I think we're going.
Do you think the royal scandals of the last 2 years have quickened the pace towards the republic?
Well, they certainly haven't. They haven't slowed it. You know, I don't think whether you had the royal scandals or whether you didn't have the royal scandal, I think in the end you're going to have a republic, regardless.
Would you have given anything to have played for Australia?
Absolutely.
In what sport?
Anything. Marbles.
Shane Warne, again, I mean, you're seen as a very successful businessman. Would you have loved to have been Shane Warne instead, for example?
Well, I think, yes, I think Shane Warne's an exceptional sportsman. I mean, there are 100 sportsmen who I would have been delighted to be any one of.
Talking about sports, the Pakistani gambling and bribe stories in the news at the moment, does that surprise you? Did you know that was going on?
Well, no, I didn't know it was going on, but I've heard stories like that back to the days of World Series. I don't believe them, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think... First of all, I know a little bit about betting. I don't know how you would possibly bet enough money on a cricket match.
To make $1 million, for example?
Well, to pay $1 million to somebody and then make a profit on top of that. I mean, I don't know how you'd do it.
Is it going to upset the game? Is it going to...
No,
the image of the game?
It's a storm in a teacup.
All right, you mentioned sport. Is it true, the reports, that you're giving up polo? You've abandoned your empire?
No, it's not true at all. But I mean, I've played a lot of polo in the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm now getting older. I'd like to play a little bit less, but I'm certainly not giving it up.
Is it a young bloke sport?
Of course it is.
What
it's
about,
like everything else.
All right, well, like everything else, have you thought of giving up this? Have you thought about just passing on the reins to James?
Oh, I have not. I mean, one of the few beauties about being one of the owners is you can decide when you want to go. And I'm going to go when I go in the box. But, you know, the difference is that I don't want to do the day-by-day work. And I have a managing director in Brian Powers, who I have an exceptional rapport with. He's a man that I've only ever felt the same sort of rapport with once before, which was a man called Harry Chester. He's doing a terrific job. He's managing director. He's running the business day to day, and we talk for an hour, maybe 2 hours every day. And I believe that it's a very good team, and it's something the way I want to live my life. I mean, how many of your viewers, if they were in my position, would want to go to work every day?
But I think most of those viewers would say I wouldn't go to work at all. Thanks very much. I just sit off.
You've got to go to work. You can't retire. If you retire completely, you lose it. It's nice to have something to go and do, and it's nice every now and again to be needed. It's nice every now and again to be able to make a contribution.
But you almost lost it a few years ago. Wasn't that a warning that maybe you should quit?
Certainly not. It's just a warning that I wasn't ready to go.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Dead for how long?
I don't know, 10 minutes. It's hard to remember. But,
did you find anything out there?
You want the good news or the bad news?
Give us the good news.
The good news is there's no devil. The bad news is there's no heaven.
Is that right?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Kerry, I'm feeling sorry for you again. I think I'd better make you some more money, eh?
Terrific. Sounds good to me.
Take a break and come back with Kerry Packer right after this. The last time we had you on this program, a couple of years ago, the phone calls overwhelmingly said, at the risk of embarrassing you, that why isn't Kerry Packer Prime Minister? Would you have ever loved that job?
No, I would not have.
Hate it?
Hate it.
What about being benevolent dictator, where you can call the shots like you do around here?
Well, if you've got to call enough shots, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And it's very easy to sit on the sideline and make a few comments about a few things, which are fairly self-evident. To run a government is a very, very difficult operation. Now, I don't think necessarily it's run that well from time to time, but it's a lot harder to do than people give it credit for. And intelligent people and decent people go into politics, and somewhere along the line, they find it all too hard. I don't know why they find it too hard, but they do find it too hard, and they also find it hard to give up. I've never yet met a Prime Minister or a President who wanted to resign. They all want to keep the job, but they don't like the job itself, but they all want to keep it.
Is that Paul Keating? Is he finding it too hard, for example?
Listen, I think every single politician in the world finds it too hard.
But they love it, though. As you say, they won't give it up.
They love it. They love the job. They love the influence. They love the power. But the actual job of fixing problems on a national scale is an awe-inspiring thought.
Do you understand that addiction of power? I mean, you've got it.
Oh, no, I don't. I don't understand. Well, I saw my father exercise a lot of power over a long period of time. I'm not infatuated by it. I saw it.
But it's better than the alternative, isn't it?
Listen, having power, having some money, having a good life is much better than all of the other alternatives. And I'm the last person in the world to argue with it. All I'm saying to you is it's an overrated commodity.
Doesn't guarantee you happiness.
Well, it doesn't guarantee you unhappiness either. But I mean, it's one of those things that's nice to use every now and again. But if it takes your life over, it becomes destructive.
Can I rule out that you don't want the job of Australia's first president?
You can certainly rule that out.
No way.
No way in the world.
Would John Howard make a good Prime Minister?
Yes, I think he would.
Why?
Because he's been around a long time. I think he's a decent man. I think he's an honest man. And I think he is a man who has seen the mistakes made, and I don't think will make them again. And to be perfectly honest with you, you know, at some point in time, you need a changing of the guard.
12 years long enough?
I don't know whether 12 years is long enough. I don't know whether John Howard will get in this time or next time. But the truth of the matter is I think he'd do a good job if he gets there. And I think for a large part of the time, the Labor Party did a good job.
Do you think, again, given what you said a moment ago, that in fact governments, no matter which political persuasion, get lazy, get arrogant?
Yes, I'm sure they do. They're like everybody else.
We're talking to Kerry Packer. We'll come back with more after the break. If there's one thing you could fix then, Kerry, and, you know, that patsy question, but what would you change in Australia today?
What would I change? Well, I think the one thing I would change in Australia, if I could change it, is the idea that big is bad and that everything has to get smaller. The truth of the matter is, if we want to compete in a global world, we're 17 million people in a world of 5 billion people, and everything is getting quicker and faster and bigger. We have to grow a little bigger ourselves to get out there in the real world and compete. And the thing that worries me more than anything else is whether we as a nation can survive in a free trade world. And I don't know that we can.
Are you disturbed? Do you despair at the foreign debt, at the interest rates?
Yes, I do. And I mean, everybody is moving offshore to do their manufacturing offshore. And if you manufacture everything offshore, all you're doing is exporting jobs and importing unemployment.
And increasing the foreign debt. So,
absolutely.
I mean, if you're right, then there's no end to the foreign debt.
Well, unless you start to change some of the rules. And that's been my view for a long time, and it's a very unpopular view.
Are they going to change the rules? It's
no,
politically
they're showing no sign of changing them whatsoever. They keep on saying it's all going to get better. Well, if you were in business and after 20 years with the same plan and it kept on working badly for 20 years and you kept on saying it's going to get better next year, they'd put you into bankruptcy. And governments at some point in time have to understand that if something doesn't work, they've got to change it.
But you must have said this to Paul Keating, you must have said it to Bob Hawke and to the various Liberal leaders. I mean, what do they say to you?
They run away. They don't want to talk about it.
Are you optimistic? Are you confident?
Listen, I've died once. Of course I'm confident and optimistic.